Hi, it's such a great time to get to chat with you because this is such a odd. You never know what's going to happen to the next movie. It's very surprising. Was there something about Greg or this ever-changing, you know, virus or serial killer or, or alien
I
situation
Yeah,
that drew you to be a part of the movie?
I think it was exactly what you just said. I think it's the fact that it really starts out as a familiar storyline, and you think, oh, this is I know what this is. We just went through this. This is COVID. This is a pandemic. Right? And you're like, oh, you're almost like not even sure you want to continue reading the script or watching the movie because you're like, God, I just went through this. But then it totally shocks you and totally surprises you, and it goes in all different directions. There's elements of AI and aliens and sci-fi. There's a love triangle. There's horror. There's gore. Is there a killer on the loose? You don't really know. Until you do. So that's what I thought was exciting about it. That it wasn't, it's not a cookie cutter stereotypical sci-fi movie or virus movie or horror movie. It's kind of got a little bit of everything in it. And I really like that. I think it's really interesting. It might not be everybody's cup of tea, but I think the people that dig it are really going to dig it.
How did they break down Greg for you then?
How did they break it down for me?
Yes, how did they tell you what Greg's backstory was?
They basically hit me up. My buddy Raja, who partnered with Leah Sturgis on this as a producer, he had put me in a movie way back in the day called Safari, which was a fun movie we did in South Africa about us. It was a horror movie, and we got stuck out on a safari. So another horror movie, totally different vibe. But we've stayed friends ever since that movie, and he hit me up during the pandemic, and he said, "Rob, I'm working on this movie called Trapped In. There's a part that I think you'd be great for. He's kind of the asshole guy." Uh, which I just love telling this story because it's so funny because it's like, how do you thank you, I think. So and he's like, well, dude, you play such a good dick. I was like, all right, cool, man. Hey, as long as I'm working, I don't care. Make me the dick, you know? So he was like, no, you're a nice, we know you're like such a nice guy, but you play a dick really well. It's like, I'll take it. So he sent the script over. I read the script. Like I said, first part of it, I was like, oh, I don't know. This kind of seems like exactly this is like the COVID. Like, I kind of feel like I'm already living this. I don't know if I want to go film this too. But then you keep turning the pages and you're like, oh, okay, this is interesting. So yeah, I was hooked. I mean, I thought it was super interesting, and then finding out who else he was casting in it, I was just excited to work and be creative. And we had been in the pandemic for a year, I think, at this point. So I was just so bored and losing my mind. I was so excited that they were going to actually film something. And then yeah, as I got involved, and like the story started, and they had some rewrites and changed some things, and the story just got better and better and cooler and cooler. And I loved playing Greg. He's misunderstood.
Well, there are some interesting, troubling scenes as well on Greg's end. Was there one that you're most proud of how it turned out on screen, or one scene you're most proud of the work you put into?
Hmm. I just really I knew that I wanted to show, like, truthfully what he was going through internally, because he does start out as this, like, kind of like tough, indestructible, nothing phases him kind of character. And he's so strong, and he's just kind of a dick. But I really wanted to make sure that the arc was really present there, and that you see him kind of, oh, he's got some insecurities, oh, he's worried about his career, oh, he knows he's getting older, and maybe he's not the top-notch cyclist anymore, oh, his love life is kind of falling apart, oh, he's scared he's going to die now because he's because of this virus or this. And I wanted to not only show his internal thoughts and what he was going through emotionally, but I wanted to incorporate that into my physicality as I played him, because throughout the movie he's getting weaker and weaker. So I wanted to make sure that I showed that as I was filming it. And I just talked about this with another interviewer, but you don't shoot the movie in order. So you shoot scenes all over the place. I mean, you can do the last scene in the movie the very first day of shooting. So it was important for me to make sure I knew where I was in the storyline and how weak Greg was at that point before we started filming that scene, because not only emotionally like kind of evolves and has this arc, but he literally like his body starts decaying, throughout the movie. So I wanted to make sure that I did that justice, I guess.
Talk about working with Leah Sturgis as the director.
Leah's awesome. She's one of my close friends now. I did not know her before I shot this. Like I said, my buddy Raja brought me on as he was a producer as well, and he brought me in. And she's great. She wrote the movie, she directed the movie, she created the whole idea and concept. We shot it at one of her houses in Malibu because the environment looked very, very similar to a place that she's visited in France. Because the storyline actually is supposed to take place at a high altitude mountain in France, where we're doing altitude training, the cycling team. But where she lives actually looks very similar to what she had in mind when she wrote the story. So we were actually able to kind of cheat that and shoot it in Malibu, which was hilarious. Um, but yeah, she's awesome. She's such a creative. I mean, she's so passionate. She's an artist. She's all over the place, with her thoughts and her creativity. But then when she's on set and she's zoned in and filming, she's like right there. She's so present. It's awesome. And she's collaborative, which is really cool. It's nice to work with a director who's open to if I had an idea about my character, or if I had a suggestion, or I was confused about a plot point, she was always open to have a conversation. Didn't mean she always took the advice or the note, but she was at least open to consider it, which I appreciate so much.
What did you guys do to shake off a long day of being on set? You're filming this intense movie that's like an adrenaline rush the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. What did we do? I mean, luckily it was such a fun group of people, thank God there was no drama. Matt Rife was in it. I mean, he's hilarious. He's an actual comedian. So like, I like to think I have a pretty good sense of humor. Everybody else on set was just like, I think the energy was just really positive because we were all excited to be working on something because we'd all been stuck inside for a year, So the fact that we were actually able to get this made and we were all together doing something that we love to do, the energy was really good. I mean, it's a heavy storyline, and especially like for my character, it's also can be draining playing the guy that everybody hates. It's hard to not kind of take that with you when you finish rapping at the end of the day and go home because even though it's not real, it's fake, like just to keep that like I don't know, just to like remind yourself that okay, Robert is not Greg. Like the actual actors like you. But when you're playing like all day, you're acting and you're being hated on and you're being hateful towards the other characters, like it does kind of start to weigh on you mentally. But I've done it before. I've played the villain in other movies and TV shows and stuff, and I love it. I think it's so much fun. But you do have to separate yourself and like at the end of the day find a way to go unwind, whether it's like go work out, go meditate, go get a glass of wine, whatever it is. You do have to learn that like you can't take that stuff home with you because it can start to really drain you.
At the beginning, we sort of talked about what's going to make this a unique film to watch. Is that what you think is going to make it a must-see watch, though, as well? The never knowing what's going to happen to the next and what is causing all of these people to die so quickly.
Right. I think just right. I mean, I do think it has the potential to be like a cult classic. I do. But I think what's cool about it is that it like we were talking about, it starts out seeming like it's going to be kind of a pretty typical story about like a virus and we just went through that COVID, but then it's got these elements that are now more than ever so relevant. Like, I mean, turn on the news right now and there's like another UFO sighting or conspiracy theories about AI and are we going to be taken over by robots and is Elon Musk's new robot going to like are we, so there's like all these things that were already kind of being talked about when we filmed this, but now they're even more like relevant in culture and what's happening and where we've evolved to just in the past few years, So I think it's just cool that Leah happened to tap into something that's like it's pretty accurate. Like we're not that far off. Like we got robots coming, there's like we might be going to Mars soon. Like, who knows what's gonna happen. And I think that's really cool. I also think it's cool that, a lot of us actors that have been in this, that were in this a few years ago, our careers have evolved. I've been in more stuff since we shot this. Matt Rife is traveling the world touring right now. So it's cool that this is one of his first movies. Um, so yeah, I hope for whatever reason, I hope the audience connects with it. I think there's something for everybody in this movie. Whether you like horror, sci-fi, a love triangle, gore, serial killers, or a virus.